Hi, I'm here with MaryAnn Dunkley, Design Director of Liberty Fabrics, as part of British Textile Week, which is a celebration of the creativity, craftsmanship and technical skills of the British textile industry. Hi, MaryAnn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. Can you tell me a bit about you and your role?
So I'm the design director for a very busy creative studio here in London. We have 18 creative textile artists working in the studio and busy every day drawing, painting, creating fabric designs for our printed textile collection.
That sounds amazing. How did you get where you are today then? What did you do before joining
So
Liberty?
I graduated from Nottingham and then went to work for Paul Smith, where the design studio at the time was in Nottingham. So it felt like a good, easy journey and something that I was really excited to embark on as an experience as such a well-known, respected, creative fashion company. So I went there to cover maternity leave for 7 weeks, and 15 years later I left. So yeah, I had a good apprenticeship and learning curve at Paul Smith, working across all the different labels and categories in Paul Smith. So, you know, really a mecca of print and a love of printed fabric was my experience at that company. And I really enjoyed when we were there working with Liberty Fabric. So for me, I already knew Liberty. It's something that I already use for inspiration and use within our collection. So I knew it very well, and it seemed like a really good fit and a really good step to come here afterwards to run the textile studio here.
So tell me a bit about the design process where you are at Liberty then. What kind of does your remit cover? Where do you get inspiration?
So we have an incredible archive, which is always our first starting point, and inspiration and learning place, like a library that we can use to learn. We have two incredibly experienced and knowledgeable archivists that actually work in our design studio. So they're always there to support us and help us to find treasures of our past. And then we use that to turn into future classics, and hopefully. We use the archive, but we obviously, of course, we're in the middle of London. We're always being inspired by current art and trends, and we've got the store, which is always a fantastic place to come to really fill ourselves with inspiration and ideas. So it can be a mixture of those things. So we're always trying to look at the past to learn, but also project and imagine the future. So that kind of mixture is something that we're constantly striving to hit a balance, and celebrate that kind of mixture is something that we're well known for and really works for us as a brand.
Tell me a bit about the current collection then. What kind of influences, what can we see from?
So the Autumn Winter 20 collection was actually, we always start with quite a broad concept. So our customers are lots of different brands that are coming to us to buy our fabrics, lots of different customers who have their own ideas, their own plans, their own projects. So we believe that within our collection there needs to be designs from different periods, different styles, different handwriting. So the idea of the collection has to be, I always think of it as like an umbrella with lots of different ways of us telling the story in different styles. So Autumn Winter 20, we imagined the store overnight transforming into a gallery, and we really thought about what a Liberty Fabrics gallery would have. So it was really looking at different kinds of art, different ways of us telling our story in new ways. So we've got from the permanent collection, where we really look at traditional heritage design and how we can reinterpret that and celebrate that, to the Oriental. So we have a long history of Oriental textiles and carpets and finds from India and China, so kind of introducing that as well. So we've got all these different kinds of flavours within our gallery. So Autumn Winter 20 is a celebration of artistic textiles within our history.
Perfect. And what obviously we're working at a brand like Liberty, you work on a complete variety of projects. Can you tell me some of the kind of interesting ones that you've worked on recently, or some of the things that have stood out to you?
So on a daily basis, we can be looking at a beautifully created sewn quilt that someone spent hours, on their own in the middle of a different country, probably creating. We often get sent pictures or even sometimes the real thing. So you can be looking at this amazing creation that someone's taken our fabrics and spent hours of their life putting together and loving. So you can be looking at that on one hand. And then we maybe go to a meeting where we would meet and present and speak to a customer from America, from a big brand that, sorry about the background noise. So, it's extremely varied. We work on bespoke projects, so it may be just for a particular customer that's seeing something they want us to recreate for them, but it could also be for a wallpaper for part of our collection. So yeah, for me, it's a real put a different hat on every hour of the day to work out who the customer is and how Liberty is going to answer that brief and keep kind of moving forward, but also working on our classic look as well. So yeah, very diverse customer base in different days.
That's it. And around the world, you're selling all around the world. What do you think it is about Liberty as a brand, but also the kind of Britishness of the way you design, or how does that work? What do you think?
I think the fact that from the very beginning, we had fabrics coming from all over the world to sell at Liberty, but we were also creating, buying work, really working with British artists. And I think there's a real style of a British textile artist that you just don't see anywhere else in the world, and that's something that we're really proud of, and I think people come to us for. And it's about the way that the education, the universities all over Britain work with drawing, really kind of making sure that integrity of the original style of hand drawing and hand painting are then translated into printed textiles. And that kind of training is something that all the designers in our studio are really experienced in and really passionate about. So I think absolutely it has become a handwriting that is known as being a very British handwriting because of Liberty. So yeah, something that we can always find here.
And you mentioned about sort of the design education and students. For someone looking to follow you in a similar kind of role, what kind of things outside of I guess the traditional education side of things would you encourage them to do, or is there any?
I mean, for me, I think that understanding what has gone before is a really good place to start. So, really understanding textile artists that have gone before us. So how they work, from William Morris to Voisey to Celia Birtwell, really kind of trying to find out that information, because we all know those designers usually through fashion, but actually to really understand those textile artists is a really important education to give themselves. I think that, just when we're meeting young graduates and young textile artists all the time, and it's really the passion that they bring to their subject, their story. And I think telling a story through textile design is something, again, we find really important and, really inspires us to create again and again. It's about finding artists that really have that passion and that interest and want to explore their own technique and handwriting, but telling a story. So it's that richness of inspiration that goes into their design, and I think that's a really important thing, to work out what story they're telling, what their personality can bring to the textiles. And so yeah, sort of believing in themselves and their own story and their own experience, and being inspired by everything around them, which is so international now, but understanding their own story and journey, and that really comes across when you talk to someone who really believes what they're showing and what they're drawing, and understands the style that they've created it in as well.
What are some of your favourite fabrics to work with? What are the kind of textures and things like that?
I mean, our famous Tana lawn, so the cotton that we're most well known for, and something that I love to wear and I'm really passionate about, because it is a really beautiful, really versatile, amazing canvas for our prints to be printed on. So it just, it feels like silk, but it washes really well, and it works for children and for men and for women. So I'm really passionate about it, and I also think it is something that everybody can afford a metre of. You know, everyone can wear it, everyone can afford it, and everyone can then enjoy it, and people keep scraps of it and use it. So it again can be just all, you know, we have customers that make it into these amazing dresses and even get married in it. So I think it has to be the tan or cotton for me. But of course, when you print on silk, the saturation of colour and definition is, it's always really exciting to see our colours on silk. So I think those are my two favourites, but I could go on. the linens we use, you know, I mean, for me, that's what I love, is seeing our prints on different fabrics and the usage. We've got some great new recycled nylons, and again, it's that idea of how products can change our design, and how then the designers, fashion designers, can transport our vision into their world. So it's really exciting. So difficult one.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. That's been really good. Thanks very much for that.
Great, thank you very much.